Welcome to the Flow Sub Only podcast. We're back. Ben and I are back today, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Ben's jiu-jitsu journey, a little bit more of his photography work, and then we're going to dive into the next Flow Sub Only event, which is Flow Sub Only 7 in Maine, October 26th. So we've got about 6 weeks to prepare. Hopefully you guys are putting some time in on the mats, getting ready for an amazing event. Ben, how are you doing today?
Good. It's a good admin day for me, staring at a computer editing right now. But yeah, it's
awesome. So we started last episode. We got into your jiu-jitsu journey, and then just like we normally do when we talk in person, we got off track. So let's talk a little bit more about that. Specifically, I wanted to talk about sort of the second half of your journey, purple to black, and also some of the really cool things that you've been a part of with Jiu-Jitsu Globetrotters, BJJ Globetrotters, and you've been a part of some other pretty big events as well. So let's talk about some of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on one more time. Yeah, I think the most exciting part about my journey or story is the second half of that belt progression. I think up until Bill Brown, I wasn't sure what I wanted. The journey of, because everybody says, I want to get to a black belt, but then it's like, well, what am I going to do next? Like, are you going to teach? Are you going to compete? Are you going to fizzle off and sort of go twice a week and maintain? Like, everybody it's like they want the carrot, but when they get it, they're like, I didn't plan on the next part about that.
Right.
And I think up until Brown, that was me. I was like, I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna train. Like, I took a job at Brown Bell that was like a half mile down the road from Alexi's gym, and I would just train twice a day for like, I think roughly 2 years with my brown belt. Just tons of mat time, but I didn't have a plan on what I wanted to do after. And I know I didn't want to start a gym because I've seen, and this isn't a slight on anybody who has gyms or wants to start a gym in Maine. I think everybody should do that. I just don't like, knowing how businesses are so volatile in the state. I'm like, I just don't want to deal with that. I do jiu-jitsu and I don't want to start hating it because it's now like my money making full time. Because I also do something that I love, which is photography, and sometimes I love and hate it because it's my sole money maker. So I don't want to do that with jiu-jitsu sometimes. And so by brown belt, I got my black belt, and I'm like, okay, like I started to embrace. I competed twice at black belt and I think 2 or 3 times at brown belt. And at brown belt, I started feeling like, okay, like now it's when the full-time competitors, like this is the belt where the full-time competitors start to really shine. And like, I don't have the time to dedicate to competing full-time. So by black belt, I embraced being a coach, being a support system to the gym, doing events, photography wise, sort of leading into that in the jiu-jitsu world. Because once you find your path and find your story, just lean into it. If you're, don't be something that you aren't. Because then when you're trying to be better at it, then you're just sort of fighting who you naturally are, I guess.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
It's kind of like every nice guy comes to a point where they're like, no, I'm just the nice guy. Just lean into it. Like, just be the nice guy. Be the corny guy in the room. Who cares? Like, do it. If that's you, do it.
It's not every competition is not for everyone either. That's something that a lot of people don't understand.
Absolutely. I agree.
I mean, I say that, and I own a competition platform, and I love teaching competitors, but I also see very clearly that the majority of jiu-jitsu practitioners are not competitors, and that's completely fine.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, they're gonna help you pay your bills. They're gonna help the other competitors train and get ready, so they're not useless, and they're not just there to do nothing, right? They're still adding value to the gym, to themselves, to the community, for everybody there. Just like the competitors add that level of like what you can become to casual people. Like, some people can go from casual for years. Like Austin's a great example of, like, he was a casual jiu-jitsu guy for years, And then pandemic happened. He had his purple belt already for I think a year at that point, and just got just insanely in shape. Would train all the time, lift every day, work 12 hours a day in the kitchen, and became overnight like this super competitive person in the state of Maine.
That's awesome.
But if you talk to him at purple belt, he's like, nah, I don't know, man, maybe not. So it's good to have those levels to show people who want to achieve that, but also you don't have to.
No, I agree. And back to the gym portion, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, competitors don't generally keep the lights on at an academy.
Right.
Competitors are like the 17 to 25-year-olds that because they're full-time competitors, they're broke all the time. It's your hobbyists that show up. And Tom has said this before, like the most impressive people tend to be the guy who gets up at 6 a.m. and works from, he works carpentry from 7 to 5, showers and comes straight to jiu-jitsu and train for 2 hours after, working on a roof or whatever for the entire day.
Yeah.
That's just as impressive to me as, the 22-year-old who can do 10 rounds in a row, but didn't do anything else all day. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there's
Yeah.
more than enough room for both. I guess I would put it that way.
I agree. I think so. There's absolutely enough room for both. Yeah, I think you need both in the gym. I think you need like every phenotype of I think that's the right word uh, of a jiu-jitsu practitioner should be in your gym, right? The 16-year-old phenom who like subs everybody, but like he's 16, so you're like, I don't know if I should go easy on him or not.
Right.
You have the 24-year-old brown belt like just travels full time to compete. You have the old black belt who's just been there forever, who likes to play half guard.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
you have the 100-pound soaking wet girl who subs everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and then you have like a group of girls who casually train. Like you need everybody.
Well, that's what makes it
Um,
fun too. Is the fact that I've said it before. I could teach a group of 20 people for 1 year, and at the end of that year, I'm gonna end up with 20 different styles of jujitsu. Like there may
yeah,
there may be a main common theme between them, but it's gonna skew based on personality type, body type, flexibility, all that stuff. So that's what makes it fun too. Is if we rolled with the same exact style of jiu-jitsu every time, it would kind of get boring. But everybody's different.
yeah, I agree. Everybody is very different, and their approaches to the sport is different. Like the more getting, I think approachment is when you get to a black belt level, the technical aspect is like less and less of what you're trying to like achieve. Like you kind of know what most of the moves are. You're just kind of sequencing them differently, or you're connecting the dots differently. But at the end of the day, maybe the setup and the finish are two different things that you've done for years. You just happen to put them together differently,
Mm,
or timing them differently, or sequencing them from other things differently.
yeah.
Um, more intense, but it's the same armbar at the end of the day.
Right.
Um, the approach though, and how people like sort of theme and bring in their approach to jiu-jitsu, like Globetrotters is such a great way to, because I come from a very traditional gym with Alexi, Brazilian. I did GF rule-based gym for the most part. Most part we train in the gi. So that sort of flavored a lot of my learning in the beginning. And so I roll a lot like my instructor because of that. But I love going to these camps. Globetrotters is a global organization that does jiu-jitsu camps all around Europe and the United States, like one in Maine and one in Arizona. And they sort of collect people from all over the world to go to these camps, attend, teach, everything. There's not a ton of like big names. Like you're not going to go to this camp to take a selfie with one of their instructors. You're going to like go there because you're going to make like 100 new best friends
Yeah.
in the sport, and then see how this random person from Ireland or from the UK approaches leg locks or arm bars or whatever it is. And that's my way of like thinking how cool Globetrotters is. Like I've just made so many friends since being a part of that organization, but I think my approach to the game is different. I think about it differently.
If you were to come up with some of the things that people might not know on the surface as to why they should go to a Globetrotter camp, what would you say? I mean, there's some obvious things, but what's some unexpected things that were really, whether it's on the mats or off the mats, that were really enjoyable?
Um, Honestly, if you go to a European camp for them, uh, they're all in picturesque places. So you're going to have a great time. Even if you don't train while you're there, you're going to love where you're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Maine, obviously, we live in Maine, so we take advantage of the lakes, the mountains, trees, the ocean. But people who travel into Maine, if you ever go to the Maine camp for Globetrotters, again, like they chose Maine for a reason. It's picturesque. Our motto used to be vacation land. Um, so that is also what they do with a lot of their European camps. Like I went to their Heidelberg camp one year and it was just breathtaking. Like you're training in a city where there's a castle above on the hill and like everything is preserved from historic years and it's super fun.
That's awesome.
But you make friends, like they have a concerted effort in the beginning of every camp to make sure you make friends with as many people as possible. And they'll do that through activities like pub crawls. Like in the main camp, they'll do like dodgeball tournaments and like movie nights and like, a white elephant gift exchange. But you
Nice.
have to explain what your gift is, right? Like, so there's 100 people in this like Yankee swap scenario, and they're all telling how they bought this special thing from down the road from one of their friends who makes these things, and it's like super fun.
That's cool. That's very cool.
So yeah, it's special. It's not just about the training. I feel like, and this may be an analogy of most of jiu-jitsu if you're not a competitor, but like jiu-jitsu is like really 20% about jiu-jitsu and like 80% about like everything else around jiu-jitsu, like the community, the physicality, getting in shape, your structure. Maybe you don't have structure in your life, confidence,
Yep.
everything else.
Jiu-jitsu is unique in that you share the mats with people who are like in drastically different personalities, but also drastically different points in their life.
Mm-hmm.
You might have a lawyer on one side of things, and then you might have a 19-year-old kid who has no idea what he wants to do with his life yet. You might have, but they all
Yeah.
share this common thing. It's like it puts circles together that would not normally be people in the same circle. It's
Yeah,
really
I
cool.
agree.
Have
I've
you?
always thought that lawyers and doctors are like the perfect jujitsu people.
Yep.
Because if you tell them they're the one segment of society that you're like, hey, you're not going to get good at this thing for 10 years. They're like, yeah, we did that already. Yeah,
Right.
sounds good.
Exactly. That's fine.
Like,
No problem.
yeah, we're used to that.
Yep. Have you been to any other uh, types of camps put on by other companies?
Yes. I used to go to the origin camps quite a bit. Um, be I was going to say sarcastically before they got too big, but I think their size is actually a benefit for them. But uh, Origin was one of the first camps back in the day. Like they were starting at 2012 or 13 for their first camp,
Mm-hmm.
maybe. Could have been 2014. But now they have a camp that's I think roughly 500 people. Um, again, up in the woods of Maine, and that camp is a little more expensive, but you have super high level instructors like coral belts and fifth and sixth degree black belts, 11, 12-time world champs like Formiga, Rafael Formiga,
Mm.
who are instructors at that camp. And you're able to train and learn from so many minds in the sport. So you're paying for the training for sure, and it's great. I just think they do operate differently than a lot of other camps, and I do love their camps. Um, but that camp is different. I've never been to another camp other than Globetrotters and other than Origin. But yeah, I tell people if you love Origin, do that because honestly, like you're gonna pay for that experience really well. Like they do cater such a great experience.
Mm.
Globetrotters just tries to focus on like the community aspect of it more than I think the jujitsu,
Well, I think
which
that's kind of
is
their whole underlying driving force, right? Is There's no
Yeah.
affiliations. There's no dues or anything. It's just people getting together and training jujitsu.
Yeah. And I do think, was it Christian, who's the owner of Globetrotters, was just on a podcast, Grappler's Perspective. And what was his name on? It's interesting. Jiu-Jitsu without hierarchy. So Christian, the owner of Globetrotters, he is very much into sort of democratizing how traditional jiu-jitsu is sometimes, and like
Mm-hmm.
the hierarchy and the lineage and things like that, and which is sort of is the opposite of my gym's sort of philosophy in a lot of ways. And so I appreciate a lot of that. I've had a lot of that discussion with him and other students in camps, and so it's interesting to hear perspectives of like oh, like I can say like, oh, my instructor is De La Riva's first white to black belt, which is really cool. And like so from the source of when jiu-jitsu started to me, there's like three people, I think. Like
Yeah.
versus some people like, oh, there's like 6 7, like my instructor. And I'm like, oh, basically mine is like my instructor.
Yep.
Like that's where it ends for my lineage. And they're like, oh, that's cool. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that is cool. I didn't think about it. Like I just love my instructor. I love where he comes from. I don't think too much more about it. We don't really focus on that a lot in our gym, but
Mm-hmm.
it is important. Versus Globetrotters is like, who cares where you come from, as long as you're not a jerk. Like we're all
Right.
training together. Um, yeah, it's
And they
different
kind of
approaches to the
use,
sport.
from what I understand, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is just what I've heard. They kind of use a
Mm.
community approach for promotions, especially to black belt, where like you got to pass the eye test, you got to be a good person.
Yeah,
They're gonna it's not just one guy who's kind of gatekeeping a belt, like
yeah.
is the case in some situations.
So I hearing from Christian over the years, he does not run Globetrotters as a company by himself. Like he has like a council, so like a board of directors. So like any major decision does have to go through not just him.
Mm-hmm.
So he doesn't want that sole ownership on, like he doesn't want to make that sole big decision without community. And same thing, like, so for instance, you can get promoted on a Globetrotters at a Globetrotters camp. But the way to do that is, you have to say you're a blue belt and you want to get your purple belt. Obviously, you can have stripes, you can not have stripes, whatever it may be. You would have your case and say like, hey, I've been a blue belt for X years. This is where I've trained. This is what I've done. My accolade, won tournaments, whatever it is. And he just takes it all under an account. If you go to, say, the main camp, for instance, he will message all the instructors at the main camp and say, hey, be on the lookout for this person and this person. Here's their photos. They would like their next belt. And so therefore, make sure everybody rolls with them. And by the end of the week, I'll get all your votes and see if they need to get a purple belt. But I'll leave it up to you guys. He's like, these are just the people who have submitted to be considered to be the next belt.
Nice.
And it's really cool because imagine you're in the middle of like, I don't know, Wyoming or, Nebraska or something that's just like this desolate place, and you started a jiu-jitsu gym in your basement with like 10 people.
Right.
Like, how are you going to get promoted?
No, it's true. No, it's very
and,
true.
and so, especially in Europe too, like Europe doesn't have as much. They do have some, but not as much as America, I think, and like the amount of gyms and associations and things like that. So it just gives people the ability to move through the belt ranks without being stuck at purple belt for 10 years
Yeah.
because you don't have an instructor, for instance.
Yeah. I've seen firsthand and stories of guys who have been at a certain belt for 8 years or 10 years, or it's one
Yeah.
thing if that's because you took a break or life got in the way and you stopped training for 5 years or whatever, but it's a whole other thing if you're consistently training but you're kind of stuck. I could see how Globetrotters would be really beneficial for those types of people.
It's a great option, honestly. I think it just gives, like, if you were only able to receive belts in the traditional sense, that's limiting to some people's like situations. Um, like maybe you're in a small town, maybe like your instructor moved away, and now your gym's sort of stuck without any affiliation. And instead of like forcing yourself to be affiliated with somebody you don't know, or maybe like, you know, instead of feeling forced to do that, now you have the ability to go to Globetrotters and maybe have a loose affiliation with them. Like they're not going to take your money. They're not going to, you know, you don't have to put their banner in your gym. You don't have to invite Christian every year for a seminar
Right.
and go out to dinner. Like he just goes, yeah, come to camp if you want. Like, cool. And I think Chris Howder has a similar outlook on the sport too. Like
I
very
think,
democratizing of the lineages. But
yeah, I, I'm obviously part of an affiliation being under Tom DeBlas. I
mm,
think that there are a lot of good affiliations out there, and I think there are a lot of really terrible ones, for lack of a better
yeah,
way to put it. It really comes down to finding someone that you trust, someone that you align with on and off the mats, and someone that is like they need to be able to put the time in with you.
right.
I've heard horror stories from people about affiliations where like they never actually hear from the person they're affiliated under. It's just crazy stuff, and I can't imagine. I'm lucky that things worked out for me that the way they did, because being
Yeah,
affiliated under a good friend is it's awesome, but not everybody has the opportunity to do that. So I could see Globetrotters being a good option for people in certain areas, for
absolutely.
sure, for sure.
Um, yeah, so I do a lot of videography work for the Globetrotter because they have a big YouTube channel as well. Most of every class that's taught in every camp of the last, I don't know, 8 to 10 years, however long Globetrotters have been around, probably longer than that, has been recorded and edited down to like a mini seminar that you can watch free on their YouTube channel. So it's
Nice.
a great resource of knowledge. Um,
That's awesome.
so whenever I go to one of their camps, I do their video work for that camp. I teach at least one or two classes, which gets me good at teaching because one thing that sometimes you don't realize is teaching is a whole nother skill, and you can be good at jujitsu, but you might not be good at teaching jujitsu.
Agreed.
And that is, I think, a skill that needs to be like a muscle that just needs to be worked. And it's hard to be a good teacher if you don't have the opportunity to do that a lot. So,
Yeah. Teaching is a completely different skill set than simply having the knowledge of a black belt. Like, not every black
mm,
belt's a good teacher. Not every competitor is a good teacher. It takes definitely, yeah, like you said, it's a muscle. You have to practice to get good at it, and you have to study. In my opinion, anyway, you have to study learning types, and you need to figure out how to connect with every single person in the room, not
mm,
just you know, not just you're super talented or not just a certain subset of your demographic. Like, you got to figure out a way to reach everybody,
yeah,
and you got
you
to
have
bring
to.
your A game every single night too.
Yeah, you can't just put on a Bill Nye the Science Guy and walk away. Like
No, no,
like some classrooms, you can't just roll in the TV sometimes.
right.
Uh, yeah,
And,
it's hard, and you're also the person that people look to for may not be like when you step into a coach's position. It's not even just like, can you technically teach? Can you speak to the room and everything? You might be somebody's like mentor, and you don't know it.
oh, absolutely, yeah.
That's something that I think is special, and also like tread. You have to tread lightly and tread carefully, but like, yeah, if you become somebody's like mentor, I mean, that's a whole nother level of like being a teacher of that sort of caliber.
I think it's important to. There's been discussions I've seen in the past on the internet where, black belts, just because they're a quote unquote expert at
Mm,
jujitsu, people view them as an expert with other life situations, and they come to them for advice, which is not always good. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. But I think I personally have a lot of people come to me with, hey, how should I handle this? Maybe it's partially jiu-jitsu related, maybe it's not, maybe
Yeah.
it's life. So I think being an instructor definitely carries a lot of weight. It's something that if you're an owner of a gym and you teach, or if you're hiring someone, or if you're deciding to become an instructor, I think it's something you got to take pretty seriously, because a lot of people are going to look up to you, and you got to be on point all the time.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. It's hard. So I just keep in that zone of like, I don't know. I've always, every time I step into a room, even if it's like 5 people, I'm like, okay, like make sure you're teaching great, make sure your stuff's on point, don't mess up. Like it's that, uh, so that's the phrase. I can't remember what it is when it's like you never think you're as good as other people think you are.
Right.
Imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Yeah. That's, that always replays in my head over and over again of like, I shouldn't be here. Why am I here? This is weird. You really think I'm a mentor? That's weird. Like, like me?
I,
I'm a mentor? No
I,
way.
I actually struggled with that a lot when I first started teaching.
Yeah.
It was like late purple belt and into brown belt. Like it was fine in the gym, but when it came time to like stack myself up against other instructors, it was like there was a lot of that like imposter syndrome. And then
Yeah.
once I had time under my belt teaching, time to practice it, time to hone that skill, and then to be able to take a few years of teaching and put some people out there competing and seeing how they perform, then that slowly started to go away.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, I think a lot of people struggle with that initially, or maybe long term. I don't know, but it's
Yeah.
definitely
I don't know.
it's real for sure.
Yeah. I think it's, for me, it's still there. I just think it's because I don't have enough reps of teaching that I still am like, you, like I'm in front of like 30 people at a Globetrotters camp, and I'm going to be again in Arizona, probably more people. And I'm still going to be like, y'all really learning something? I mean, cool, but like, really? You don't know this? All right. Like,
What's
I don't
fun
know.
for me is when visitors come in and to our academy, we're in an area where there's a good amount of in the summertime there's a lot of tourists and people passing through
Yeah.
like Camden and stuff. So we do get a fair amount of drop-ins in the summertime, and it's really nice when I get somebody from some other gym and they would thank me at the end of the night. Thank you so much for having me, blah blah blah. Your teaching is incredible, like, and that's like the greatest compliment that in my opinion that someone could give me is like,
Yeah.
you know like the way you explained this, or I have never seen this before, the way you explained it is incredible. Like that is like the greatest thing someone could say to me. So that's really fun. I think once that happens a few times, that imposter syndrome starts to go away. It's just like you said, it's a matter of repetition. So just getting more reps, more classes under your belt with different size, different groups and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think I've been given a lot of like accolades of like, oh, you're the most approachable. Like white, blue, purple belts would be like, oh, you're the most approachable.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, awesome. That's actually what I'm looking for, because I don't know if I have the technical prowess to be like a super high level black belt teacher, two
Mm-hmm.
black belts, but to somebody like a white and blue belt, like I wish, like my hope is I'm the most approachable, so that you don't have like fear of asking questions.
Right.
Because that's like, you have a lot of blue belts who are like, yeah, I never really knew what X guard was, but I really wanted to ask.
Yeah.
It's like, well, okay, you're asking now. Let's go. Let's go work on, like I'm so happy to teach you X guard. Let's go.
Yep.
That's my mentality versus like, oh, why didn't you learn X guard? It's like, now they're like afraid to ask you questions.
That's
And
sad, honestly, in some ways. that if you have somebody at what, regardless of whose academy it is, if someone is afraid to ask whoever's instructing that night questions, like,
And this is, I think, my approach of like my perspective here is not like negative for the instructor. I think it's to the student, and every student's different. So as long as you approach a student in any like sort of individual way to go, hey, like I'm here for questions if you need it. And every person knows like it's okay to ask questions. That's the thing. Like some people just don't want to ask questions because that's not their personality, but they have to because you know what you don't know sometimes.
right. Getting through your path in jiu-jitsu requires you to not just simply show up to class, do the technique of the day, and go home. Like that'll take you fairly far, but I feel like you also have to put your own work in as far as being honest with yourself, recognizing areas of weakness, specifically working on those areas, asking the right questions to people who are better than you are, whether it's your instructor or just a teammate. Like that's partially on the instructor, but it's partially on you to recognize where you're struggling.
Yeah. So I think approachability is one of the best things for lower belts. Again, like open mind, like we talked about before.
The culture of the gym in general is important when it comes to that too. Like I feel like not only should the instructor be approachable, but the culture in the gym should allow any white belt or lower belt to feel comfortable asking any colored belt for advice about a situation, you know?
I agree. Yeah. Because sometimes those like high level guys cannot be the best personable guys or girls.
Right.
And so, yeah, it's cultivating the right room
for sure
for that. And I think it's funny. Alexi does some things. I'm not sure if they're intentional, but I'm going to just I'm just going to go out on the limb and think they are, because I think he's smarter than people think he is in these moments. But like if somebody's got a real big head on them, like they're super egotistical before they even like start the training that day, he will almost like a sixth sense, like know that you're being a little full of yourself. And he'll like maybe make fun of you a little bit and like figure out like a dumb reason for the whole room to do push-ups, like based on what you did. And it's not like he's calling you out. He's trying to be like, hey man, like calm down. Like, you don't have to be a hothead. Like we're all hitting it together. Like we're all doing push-ups together. Like no one's going to hurt him because they all did push-ups because of him. But like he's doing it intentionally to bring the whole place back to equilibrium.
Keep the ego in check a little bit.
Yeah. You have a sixth sense of like when certain parts of the room may be going up or down, and moods, emotions, things like that.
That's a sign of a good instructor though too, when he's got to read his room, not just his overall student base, but his student base on that particular night, who's physically in attendance that night, because who shows up on any given night can vary drastically. I try to plan what I'm going to teach ahead of time, but there's been, I would dare say, hundreds of nights where I've had a lesson plan in mind, walked in the door, and as people were showing up, thought, okay, I'm changing what I'm teaching tonight, just purely based on the room.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And that's paying attention.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk Flow Sub only. October 26th, 6 weeks away. We can talk about past events as well. We got a lot of opinions on different things. What are you looking forward to at this upcoming event? What are you hoping to see?
At the Opens, I think the Opens have a really good way of bringing matches together that you never would have seen before. And I think that's also the undergrounds as well, but like definitely the Opens, because there's just more people competing in the Opens. I think you see a lot more talent that's up and coming. That's when they tend to start to come out and show themselves more. Because it's hard to just reach out to you and be like, can I have a match in the underground? And you're like, I don't even know who you are or where you know, like,
yes.
But if they've won as an Open before and you're like, oh yeah, you like wiped the floor with this division before. Like, okay, sure. Yeah. Like you have my attention now. Like it's where people can sort of prove themselves in an open format. I think some of the super fights, if there will be, I know there's none announced, but if there will be, I love super fights. Some of my favorite things is to have some of my friends who are super high level compete against each other, like fights that you never would have thought coming.
I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to a lot of the, not just for the opens, but I'm looking forward to a lot of the current champions from the undergrounds defending their belts too. Not to get off track on that too far, but there's a lot of them that also compete in the absolute at the opens, which makes for really fun matches. Like you said, different weight
Mm.
classes all combined. We've had some fun ones with like Michael Sear versus Nikolai. That was a great one.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see who's in the absolute this time for sure.
I think it'll be fun. Honestly, the absolutes always are a good time. I just think also like it's at a time of year where there's not a ton of tournaments, so I love it when you have beer fests, tournaments, events that aren't in a time of year where you would expect.
I think the timing of this one's really nice because is just it's into fall enough where things are starting to slow down a little bit from the craze of summer for a lot of people. Give them a chance to get a couple good solid months of training in if they're the type of competitor or kid who takes the summer off or whatnot. A couple solid months of training and now they're ready to go.
Yeah, I think it's a good time of year to do it. People have already settled after school starts, and I think they're ready to go back to competing because I think if you wait too much longer after the summer, which is typically competition season, you get people a little rusty if they don't keep that up. And if there's not a lot of tournaments, then there's no reason to keep it up.
Yeah, I agree. You mentioned just a minute ago up and coming competitors. Anybody that comes to mind for you from recent undergrounds or from recent tournaments?
Honestly, the gentleman who beat Henry in the last underground,
Yes.
um, I'm not sure if that would be considered an upset because I know Henry's been grappling for a long time. He's a longtime friend of mine, and he's a high level dude. And I've known the kid who beat him,
So
but I didn't think he's been grappling for that long. So it kind of like surprised me.
yeah, so Brennan Kitchen, I believe officially he's under Titan.
Mm-hmm.
He's good, man. His leg lock entries were solid against Clark. It was I wouldn't dare to say whether it was an upset or not, but I will say historically in his previous matches, Clark proved to be very very difficult to submit. So I think that was surprising. It was what maybe a couple minutes into the match.
Yeah,
'Cause we had seen in previous undergrounds Clark he went to overtime numerous times with very high level guys and no one was able to catch him. So I was kind of surprised. It was a beautiful leg entry by Kitchen and then it was over quick after that.
yeah, and it was sort of one of those scenarios where like Henry knew what was happening, but he went into it so well.
Yes. Another up and comer on the younger side of things who I'm very impressed with is Tristan Box.
Yeah,
I want to say 16. He might be 17 now, but he's been super impressive in all the competitions I've seen from him lately.
Tristan's. I think Tristan's going to be a up and coming phenom in the scene coming up soon. I mean, he is already, but I think he's gonna get worse for people to deal with. And I knowing his dad, his dad's such a hard worker, Dustin. Dustin does such great work up in Oakland, Maine, like from basically going from nothing, running a gym in his backyard to the gym that he's leasing out the space now, and all the amenities that he's added to that over time. It's just, he's definitely built a really cool spot up there.
Yeah, for sure. So Tristan Box is a 17-year-old blue belt.
Okay.
And just kind of looking down through smooth comp, he was on Underground 5 and fought against another very talented 16 or 17-year-old Parker Smith from the Foundry. That was a fun match. Box ended up winning with a calf slicer, I believe, which is
Yes.
not the most common thing that you see between two teenage blue belts, but it was beautiful.
Yeah, I remember that. That was really nice. Yeah, I think Tristan is going to surprise people in the next couple of years with kind of coming out of nowhere if you don't know him, and wiping the floor with a bunch of people.
Yeah. I agree. There's a
It doesn't help that he's also a wrestler in his high school, so he's got really good takedowns too.
Oh, he is. I was not aware of that.
Yeah, like he could take you down if he wanted to. Like he's really good. He's got really good single leg ankle picks because he's just so long,
He's got the
so he can
right
get it from a
build
mile.
for jiu-jitsu too, you know. Granted, he's
Yeah,
17, so he's probably still going to grow even more, but he's tall and lean and yeah, he's got a good leg game clearly already based on
hmm
what we saw at the last event. So I
oh
think
yeah.
I think he's got some good opportunity for sure to see what he can do. Who else off the top of your head? Who else you got that you would like to see at the top here? Who could challenge some of our champions?
Um, Honestly, I think Austin Miller could be good, and I'm super
Mm-hmm.
biased on that because he's one of our teammates. But so take that with a grain of salt.
Nope.
But
You can be biased, but I completely agree. I think he's incredibly talented.
I think Austin's really talented. I think Austin's also he when you hear how his life works, you're like, how do you even have time to like do jujitsu? Like he has 3 kids. He runs a restaurant with his wife, who they both work at full time, and he teaches soccer. Now he's teaching his kids soccer team,
Nice.
his son's soccer team. So yeah, I'm like at the end of the day, I'm like, how do you find time to do anything, man? Like I don't have time to do things, and I don't have a business, and I don't have 3 kids.
Right. Yeah,
But
that's a juggling act. Owning your own business on its own, that's enough to destroy all your free time. But then on top of that, having 3 kids and wanting to train as much as possible as a jiu-jitsu black belt, yeah, that's that's a tall order.
yeah, and he's good too. Like he, the rooms that he trains in with us is like Nikolai, Tristan, all those guys who do compete at the opens a lot. So he does compete with the guys and trains with the guys who oftentimes get to the finals or have won the opens and the undergrounds. And he's done the underground, I think, once, and he's done the open, I think, twice. You can probably
Nice.
check Smooth Comp
He
if you want
did.
to.
I believe he was on Underground 5, and he was super dominant. Like, or
Yeah,
Underground 4, I think it was super dominant with like very fundamental jujitsu. I
yeah. I
recall
mean, that's
like
who we are.
yeah, like I recall like a super. I hate the word basic, but super basic passing, and then to a very dominant mount position where like he worked and threatened and finally got the submission. But there was no doubt he wasn't gonna lose position. It was very
Yeah.
very disciplined way to fight.
I think that example, going on a little side quest for a minute, I think that example with the example that Tristan had in the last underground that he competed in, I think a similar mentality of like you're taking people who are pretty good at doing point based tournaments. So they know the hierarchy. They need to go from, guard, passing, side control, mount, take the
Mm,
back. Like
yep.
in that order. Don't be don't be overzealous, control the position before you get to the next one, like very point based mentality.
Score your points at every position. Don't rush. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think you see that with Tristan. Like Tristan was never in major danger, and he would always just like get his positions back every time. And same thing with Austin. Like he would not over risk and over like extend himself to then get exposed because he needs another attack somewhere else. He'll give up the attack in order to stay in that good position because he knows he has more attacking opportunities there than if he like goes for this major whatever attack and then it doesn't work.
Hmm. I completely agree with that approach. I preach that let's focus on dominant position and then submitting from that position. Ideally in submissions that we do not have to leave that position to go for.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yep.
it's purely just risk reward, just like any other part of your life, but a lot of people don't
Yeah.
see it that way.
True.
I'm just looking back through the Underground 4, which is the event that Austin was on, and a couple other competitors that come to mind as not necessarily up and comers, but they're either at the top or they're knocking on the door. One who's at the top already of local, at least his performances in Flow Sub only that I've seen is Michael Sear. Just has been a dominating force so far for the most part. I really am looking forward to seeing what we can put together next for a match for him.
Yeah, he's really talented. He's a problem for people for sure.
Yeah. I was just looking. I believe he won our absolute at not this most recent Open, but the one before, and then he's won both of his 265 and under heavyweight title matches. So he's 2-0 at the underground, and he's won an absolute. I believe he does have one loss on record to Mark Jack from the academy, but that I would definitely wouldn't mind seeing that match again either. By the way.
Oh, wow. Oh, actually, wow. Yeah, because Mike is a brown belt now since then, and Mark has left to train with Kingsway in Texas. So both of them are definitely on the up and up right now.
Yes. I'll be honest, from a promotion side of things, it's hard to find matches for Michael Sear.
In the state of Maine, yeah, with his weight class, yeah.
It's also hard to find matches. I'm biased, obviously, but for Meg Gleisner, she of all the underground champions that we've had, she's defended the most times. I need to travel further, I think, to find more people for her to fight.
Is that why you're doing an Open in New Jersey?
Yeah, probably, and that's probably not a bad idea. The other up and comer that I wanted to talk about, and I say up and comer, but he's really right at the top as well, and he's kind of been a staple of all the Flow Sub onlys from the beginning, and it's been fun to watch him come up through from blue belt to, I believe, brown now, is Nikolai.
Yeah.
I came across a photo of him in his, I want to say it was his first match or his first super fight, I guess I would say, and that was against Will Malsbury from Lawton's. And they were previous training partners and friends, as I understand it. And Will got the better of Nikolai on that match. Nikolai was a blue belt at that point, though. I think Will might have been a purple belt. But Nikolai has grown so much over the 5-ish years of Flow Sub Only's existence that it's been really fun to see. What's your perspective on him as he is a teammate of yours?
I think Nikolai, he had a fast trajectory up in terms of his competitive prowess. I think I saw him from white to brown at this point, intimately, like he trains at our gym full time. I think he's seen a lot of improvements over the last couple of years, and he's sponsored by a bunch of people. I think he's running into the same issue that a lot of competitors in Maine face, is that you have to find the rooms where you're sometimes not the best person at. And he does train at Alexi's. Randomly, you go into Alexi's, there's 10 black belts in the room. Like, it's awesome, right? Like, I love that. They may not be all competitively paced. They may not be young. They may not be, like a wrestler. They might not have the pace of Nikolai, but they will give him a lot of problems, and they will challenge him in a lot of ways. I think he needs that, but I also think to get to that next level, right? Because I think he's at a really high level brown belt, and he beats black belts too, all the time. I just think it'll be interesting to see. I'm not trying to be downtrodden on him because he's number one, he's a teammate, but also I think Maine is growing in jiu-jitsu in general. So I think he might be in a good place right now. If he was where he is now, but in the jiu-jitsu community that Maine had 10 years ago, he would have that plateau. Like, he would just like almost hit that ceiling, and like it'd be hard to go higher than that because Maine only has so much to go higher than that.
Right.
And I think he's in a good place right now to test how good jiu-jitsu is in Maine in the competitive sense. But also,
I
full
think
time.
I
He
think
works full time like everybody
luckily for
else.
him though, the ceiling in Maine is constantly moving up.
Yeah, I love that though. I love that for
I
Maine.
think it's great for
And
Maine and for him, anyone at the top specifically. I think you're right. In the past, if you went back 10 years ago, I feel like there's a lot of people who would have hit ceilings or did hit ceilings
mhm,
much sooner. There was a greater disparity between jiu-jitsu in the world and jiu-jitsu in Maine.
yeah,
But I think that Maine is catching up. We're not there yet, but I feel like the gap is closing as opposed to getting bigger, you know.
yeah. Or I also think like maybe the gap is the same. We just think it's not as much because we're in Maine.
Maybe.
Like we, like I always think like, oh, the gap is tightening in Maine, and I'm like, honestly, the gap may be the same. It's just everywhere else is so much better.
Right, maybe
Because
it's
like,
maybe it's this the a larger scale version of the purple belt and the brown belt. The purple belt keeps getting better, but the brown belt keeps getting better as well. So the gap is the same. It's just they're both growing at the same rate.
I think it's a lot of
That's
that.
possible. I could see that as well.
Because I don't know, I used to cross train like when I would travel for when I was in college as a blue and purple belt. Um, I go down to New York for a couple college things, and I cross train at Marcello's, and yeah, they wiped the floor with me, but I didn't feel like I was a fish out of water
Mm.
as much. I feel like as a black belt, if I went into one of those high level rooms now, I'd feel like completely, and this might be my age, but I feel completely out of water. Like these guys are doing stuff that I don't know about, techniques that haven't gone up to Maine yet because they're so new, and maybe at a whole competition that we just don't have. Um, Maybe some parts of Maine we have, but
Yeah. Well, I've talked to Tom about this before. It's if you're a high level competitor, like you need someone better than you, obviously, or someone who could make you work. But the nice thing about large, gyms from say New York or California, or Austin, Texas, wherever, is you're not going to have one guy who can make you work. You're going to have 20.
right,
So it's not necessarily the level, although the level is different. It's
it's the
the
volume.
volume exactly. When you've got 20 different looks and all of them are going to make you work, that's when the growth is going to happen fast.
I agree. I agree. Um, and I'm not saying that Maine isn't good. Like I'm seeing people coming up in Maine that I'm like, "Ooh, that guy's good already," and he's at a purple belt level
Oh yeah, for
um,
sure.
or a brown belt level, and he's already traveling across the country to, compete here, compete there, things like that. Like Nikolai has flown to Texas and other states in the past to do like invitational only tournaments, and so he has the. I think he has that accolade. I think he has that in him. I think the next couple of years is going to be the biggest challenge for him compared to the other years.
Well, the growth as you get closer to the top, whether it's belts or competition, the growth is slower and more difficult than ever.
Yeah.
So it's true. That being said, though, there are plenty of examples of guys who haven't required incredible training partners and are at the top. And at some point, if you continuously grow, you're the top dog. You have to learn how to improve against
Mm.
and utilize people's strengths who are not as good as you. Maybe they're not as good as you as a whole, but maybe their back control is amazing, right? So you can use that as a method to work your back escapes, or they have an amazing straight arm lock from the guard. So you can use that as a source for training that specific thing. I think you got to get
Mm.
creative and it's not ideal, but there's a lot of guys who can go quite far if they if they try to manage their resources well.
I agree. I agree.
So 26th, we've got flow sub only. One person who has already signed up. This isn't necessarily a call out, but I'm excited to see it. I'm not sure if you are or are not familiar with him, but Jacob Weeks signed up for the absolute division. He's a black belt. I believe he previously has trained under Lawton's, and now he's at the
Weeks.
Foundry in Farmington.
Okay.
Solid competitor. He's done a super fight years ago on one of the squads events and was victorious against Nick Wiley, who was an out of town. I want to say he's from New York or New Jersey. Solid competitor who's been on a lot of promotions. He's been on, Emerald City Invitational and a lot of like Men of War Pro and Fight to Wins, and he's pretty much a staple of the East Coast, competition scene. And
Okay.
Jacob Weeks beat him at one of the events. So I'm excited to see how he does in this next absolute division. Should be fun.
Yeah. I don't think I know him off the top of my head, but no, that sounds great. I mean, I would say the more people we can get to surprise other people, the better. Honestly,
Yep.
that's kind of my brain's at. Like, I want to surprise. I want to be surprised.
I agree. Yeah. Just like the Kitchen versus Henry Clark match, I feel like a lot of that room was shocked simply because of they didn't know him.
Right. Yeah. Henry's a name. Everybody knows Henry in this area, and so to see him kind of get beat like that is surprised. And it wasn't like it was a one-sided match, but at the end of the day, everybody's like, "Ooh, okay, so there's somebody who can challenge Henry at doing that."
What will be interesting with that weight class going forward is that was for the 185 championship, which Kitchen is now obviously the 185 champ, but both of those guys are really naturally 170 guys, both Clark and Kitchen. So it'll be interesting to see if Kitchen can hold down a title defense or two despite the size difference, because I really think, he hasn't told me this, but I really think that Kitchen wants the 170 belt.
Okay.
Which right now is Rory Connors from Connors Martial Arts in New Hampshire. That would actually be a very fun match too.
Have you ever had a champ?
Not up to this point, but
Okay.
that I could see that happening, but also Rory is insanely tough black belt. So
Okay.
maybe that's the move to set up.
Maybe. Again, I want excitement. I want fun. I want surprise. So a champ situation I never would have thought would happen this year, but that could be a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And 170 and 185 seems to be those volatile weight classes that like you can go up and you can go down to. Like it's right in the middle.
I can't swear to it, but I believe both of those guys, both Clark and Kitchen, walk at like in the mid to high 170s or very, very low 180s. So
Okay.
185 is not a crazy thought, but anybody who knows competition scene with night before weigh-ins, cutting 6 pounds is not that difficult.
It's not easy.
Yeah. It's not easy, but it's not, for the guys who are used to doing it, it's like another day at the office,
Yeah, true.
One of the events.
I'm also older, so like cutting weight for me lately has been just the hardest thing as you get older.
Yeah, for sure. One of the events we had, I want to say the open 3 or 4, because we do the night before weigh-ins at the gym. Basically, while we're setting up the gym, we open up the scales for generally an hour and a half to 2 hours. It's nice because it allows, we usually get probably a third to half of the people who are competing will come weigh in the night before. Some out of convenience and some because they're cutting. And there was a guy who was in the middle of cutting like 25 pounds.
Ooh, oh no.
Yeah. And he showed up and he looked he looked dead. He really did. He made the weight, and I never looked to see how he performed the next day, but like cutting, he was like a big, lean, strong looking guy who was making, I think he was trying to make 185, and he walks at like 210, and he
Ooh.
made it. It was like 186 because we have the 1 pound allowance. It was like 186.0 on the
Oh,
dot.
he was so thankful for that one allowance.
Exactly. But man, I can't imagine cutting 25 pounds for a grappling match. MMA is a different animal. I'm not a huge fan of giant weight cuts anyway, but 25 pounds for a grappling match when I believe he was a blue belt too,
Oh wow.
that seems excessive.
I mean, if you got goals, you got goals, right? Like I'm trying
You,
not to like, yeah, but he did it. I
yeah,
wouldn't have done it.
he didn't look good, but he did it.
I remember cutting so much weight when I was a blue belt for the ADCC trials in New York, and I did it the stupid wrestling way, where like you just put on a bunch of sweats and like sweat all week. And I think I cut like 15 pounds that week, and I don't even remember my match.
Oh yeah.
I went in there and I got like steamrolled, and I was like, okay, cool, let's not do that again. That sucked. Like, okay, duly noted. That was a mistake. Okay.
What's you've been in the combat sports world for a long time. What's your opinion on weight cutting?
Um, I do think it's a little bit. It's a fine line. I think weight cutting should be there. Obviously, it's and there's hydration tests for people who and organizations who want to keep it safe.
Mm-hmm.
And I think hydration tests are great. I just think I don't know, like if somebody can safely cut, like I've seen people safely cut 20, 25 pounds and still win. Uh, I don't know how their liver is going to be in 10 years,
Mm,
but they won and they were dominant,
right,
but they gained all that back within, 12 hours
right.
of the weigh-in. And then I've seen people who need to cut 8 pounds that week, and it's just such a hard cut because they're already so lean. And, maybe they cut a lot in the past, and it's just like another thing for them that their body doesn't want to do. And it's harder as you get older. There's obviously a lot of unhealthy things to it. I'm into it, but I think the testing is good, the hydration testing. Yeah, I don't know. And you see all of these scenarios of people taking fights last second, needing to cut weight. So you can't really fault them for
Mm,
having to cut that amount of weight in that such a short amount of time.
yeah. I don't know that there's a unless you switch to same day weigh-ins for we're talking about MMA now. Unless you
Mm-hmm.
switch to same day weigh-ins for MMA, I don't see a way where people stop cutting weight. I feel like they would still cut some weight for same day weigh-ins, which potentially is even more dangerous.
Yeah. Like IBJJF is scary because you're weighing in minutes before you compete.
Mm,
And that's only scary if you are going from a mentality of like massively weight cutting, like in the
right.
past. Like if most of the tournaments you've done in the past are massive weight cuts, then yeah, it's going to be really hard to go to an IBJJF tournament,
Yeah.
and there's no way to rehydrate in that amount of time. But and IBJJF will tell you, okay, well, we want healthy athletes, so do it healthy.
Right.
If you're unhealthy, it'll show. So I guess that's the way to do it without hydration. Like it's a way to do hydration testing without doing hydration testing.
Yeah. I think hydration testing is good. I know one championship uses hydration testing. I'm not sure who else does, but I think it's a step in the right direction to sort of minimize it, but it still comes with its own set of issues too, you know.
Yeah,
I
I think
don't
like
know that there's
everything.
an ideal answer purely because regardless of what rules you institute, people are naturally going to look for an edge and try to game the rules, whether it's hydration or same day or what we have now with the majority of people doing the night before. I don't
Yeah,
I don't know that human nature allows for people to not just simply say I weigh 165 every day. I'm going to compete at 165. I don't think there's a human being in the world that would actually do that.
right. They want as much of a competitive edge as they can.
Right. Even if it's just mental, you know, even if it's like, oh, I'm back up to 175 now and I'm fighting at 165. Like, it gives them mental confidence too that hopefully they're bigger than the other guy, but the other guy's doing the same thing. So,
Yeah, it's Yeah, weight cutting is just such a hard topic. Like, I want people to be safe, but at the same time, I want to see a damn good match. And sometimes that dude who cut from 200 to 170 is going to put on a damn good match.
Yeah. Well, and weight cutting is just one of the detrimental things, but in a future episode we'll talk about steroids in jiu-jitsu and get your take on that, but we don't have enough time for that today. That's a big one to unpack.
The acai right
Yeah.
into the veins.
Yep, acai. That's how to do it. All right, sir. Well, we will wrap up this episode. But before we do, I wanted to do something I did not do last episode, which is have you let everybody know where they can follow you, where they can see what you're up to.
Oh, yeah, we didn't do that. I guess I didn't even notice. Thank you for allowing me the platform to tell people. On all the social platforms, my handle would be Active Beer Geek. It's a handle that I came up with years ago, and I think just accurately describes who I am. ABG is the acronym, and I've been running my own media service company for photo video website work for this year, and that's ABG Media, sorry, ABG Creative. I'm still getting used to the name, but yeah, if anybody wants to find me, Active Beer Geek on every platform, that's what I do. TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever. Probably everything's going to be on Facebook, Instagram for the most part, being a photographer. But if anybody has any questions about photography, I'm happy to help anybody who's looking to get into the whole field, because I think there's plenty of room.
For sure. Awesome. And you guys, as usual, can catch up with me at prof_Hayden BJJ, or you can follow at FlowSubOnly on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, anywhere. We now have 111 underground matches on YouTube, so definitely feel free to check those out as well.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a great library has been built up. So hoping to see more of you guys subscribe to that. Keep an eye on those matches. We got some really, really good ones from previous events. I'm sure Ben would agree. I'd put at the top of my list the On versus Meg match on YouTube. If you have not seen that, you definitely should check it out.
That's a great match.
Incredibly talented ladies. One from each of our academies, which makes it fun.
Yeah. On after getting back in shape after having her baby, man, and even before, obviously. But yeah, I love seeing her coming back and definitely coming into the competition scene again. It's great.
She's fun to watch too. They both are.
Yeah.
Super talented for sure.
Professionals in the sport.
Exactly. All right, sir. I will catch up with you in our next episode, and we will talk soon.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.